welcome to another episode of the Video Marketing Podcast. And Jordan and I are back this time to share with you a little bit of behind the scenes with Bernard Immel. Now, what we've done with Bernard is we have set him up to produce his very own video podcast. We find that a lot of people want to produce their own video podcast, but they need a little bit of professional help. And so Bernard came to us, said that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be able to edit it and do it from his cell phone, but he needed some professional help and some professional flair. We created a couple of intro bumpers, which we'll show to you in a couple of minutes. But we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we Bernard through. Some of the things that we walked Bernard through. So I think probably the number one most important thing is making sure that you're asking yourself why you're doing the show, why you're doing a podcast, and making sure that you get things down pat with regards to who your audience is, what your goal is, and what's the kind of messaging that you're trying to convey. So, Jordan, what are your thoughts with regards to that end of things?
I say do everything as if it were on purpose. So, yeah, like you said, make sure you've got a plan. Make sure you know who you're trying to attract and why, which is probably more important. Yeah. I don't know. What else should we say on
that? What about the whole thing about providing value?
Providing value. So, I mean, the key here is to make sure that you're providing something for your audience to come back to. The reason you're doing this show is probably to attract people to a business or to a cause or something that you need eyeballs for. And I think that the real key is to try to provide more value to your customers or your clients than they provide to you.
Very good point. Now, you and I were talking a few minutes ago, and I want to go back to this point. It's going to take some time, some investment of your time. If you're not investing a lot of money, you're at least investing some significant time, and you need to value your time.
Yeah, this is a big thing with a lot of people, and one of the number one things I hear is, I just don't have time for this. And, I mean, I hate to say it, but if you don't have time for your customers, then maybe you shouldn't be in business.
Good point. Now, if you are going to invest the time, and I know a lot of people would like to invest the time, there are some key things that you need to really consider when you're doing it to make sure that you're maximizing the return on the investment of your time.
Absolutely.
I think the number one biggest thing from my perspective is preparation.
Yeah.
People are going to be investing a lot of time. They need to make sure that they really, really plan well. So that's the first point. Make sure that you really plan out what you're doing. The more that you put into the planning, the less that you have to put into the actual production. And the production is where a lot of the time goes.
Yeah. I mean, really, you should be spending as much time planning as production and post-production combined.
Awesome. Now, I know that
there's
a point that you like to make with regards to filming as you go. Tell me about that.
Well, a lot of times I find that people get hung up on the creative. I got to come up with something new for today's episode or whatever. And instead of trying to pull that out of your already frantic mind, if you're running a business or something, there's a lot of stuff rolling around in there. But there's so much going on in your life that you could just document in a video. You don't have to come up with these things. Just show people a glimpse into what's going on with you. You've already got this unique thing that nobody else has, which is your life. And there's got to be something, and that's kind of what we're doing here.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this particular podcast, we are just running some background talk on what we actually went out and just filmed ourselves doing in our day-to-day operations of providing that support to Bernard like we do with the rest of our clients. Only this time we filmed some behind the scenes with it, and we're making it into a separate podcast show.
Yep. I think the mistake would be to think that that has less value than something you just came up with on the spot.
Right. Well, and in fact, I mean, to your point, you're actually establishing your expertise because you're showing people, if you're documenting as you go, you're showing people what it is that you do and the value that you bring.
Yeah.
I think Bernard is, in some ways, is documenting his present circumstances rather than creating content.
Totally.
Because he's addressing something that's in the marketplace right now,
Yep.
and that is the recent announcement from the BC government with regards to first-time homebuyers.
Yeah, and I think he's being very strategic about it because he's sort of placing himself in the public eye as someone who knows a lot about this.
Right. Makes perfect sense. So film as you go on what you're working on and just document what you're working on as opposed to having to create tons of new fictitious content.
Right.
Excellent. Excellent point. Now, technically, some of the things that people need to know with regards to doing a show. It's okay to film with your cell phone, but there's a couple of key things that people need. And I think we should talk a little bit about light and sound.
Yeah.
So which one do you want to tackle first?
Well, they kind of have a good partnership when it comes to video. Those are really the only two elements. Sound is one of those things that you can't get away from. Bad audio is, it doesn't matter how good your camera is. If your audio stinks, no one's going to stick around. Not to say that you should have bad video, but you can get away with certain things. If your lighting's not perfect, as long as your audio is good, people will stay for the content. But let's have both.
Absolutely. So what did we do? Let's tell everybody what we did
Yeah.
with Bernard.
So we recommended that he picked up a little lapel mic that, I don't know where he got that from, but I mean, you can get them online all over the place.
Yep.
That plugs right into his phone. And it wasn't wireless or anything like that. And the lens on the phones these days are so wide that you can have it right in front of you, and it really doesn't, like, it's not going to affect your image at all. And that gave him a good, for the price he paid for that microphone, it was a heck of a lot better than just in-camera sound.
Yeah, I think he paid like $30, less than $30 on the mic, and I think he paid $50 for the light that he bought.
Yeah, that light was overkill, but it certainly does the job. I had when we had them all set up there, we had it dialed about as far down as it could go. But that's going to give him lots of play if he needs to position it further away or whatever the case may be.
Right, and then he bought a couple of little tabletop tripods to be able to position everything, and that was it.
Yeah.
He already had the phone.
Yeah, and he doesn't need software because YouTube comes standard with all that now, so
That's
he's
right.
pretty much good to go.
So the key with Bernard, what Bernard wanted and what a lot of people want is, how do I set this thing like Ron Popeil, set it and forget it, where I
Yeah.
can just go do it all, get into a routine, and I don't have to learn all of these new things and buy all of this expensive equipment. And so we set him up with being able to do it with his phone, with a couple of small little things that he can carry with him, like, for example, the lapel microphone, a couple of mini tripods, and the light. And then he can upload it from his phone straight to his YouTube account. We set him up and helped him optimize his YouTube account. And then he can use the YouTube editor to edit it all and put it together. Yep. Nice and simple.
Yeah, and then that was the goal, was simplicity. He's not a cameraman, he's not a producer, but he still needs to do all the things that a cameraman and a producer would do. And so I think, there's so many more things that we could say, oh, you should do this and you should do that. But in the interest of simplicity, I don't think it can get any better than what he's got going.
Awesome. So it's nice to get the camera up a little bit higher than you, so you're not shooting up on your chin.
That's right.
You're shooting down on your face instead of up on your face.
That's right.
You want
Makes
it
for a better
pretty
shot.
level.
Yeah, I feel like
we're up a
Level
little
or
higher.
slightly down, not slightly higher, not lower, shooting up.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like my tripod will be good then if I'm gonna have to put a box underneath anyways, even on yours.
It could, yeah.
So, okay, so what I'm doing here, are you familiar at all with lens compression?
Nothing.
Okay.
No.
So, essentially the way that lens compression works is the closer I am to you, and if it's a zoom lens, the more zoomed in I am, the more the background goes out of focus and you stay in focus, but it compresses things. So the background looks a lot closer than it is.
Okay.
I don't know why that did that.
We didn't hit record. It'll probably stay on
Oh, okay.
once we hit record.
That's right.
So I mean, really, that's just an artistic thing. The more people tend to really like the shallow depth of field. So if you're just in focus and everything else is really blurry and blown out, people think that looks cinematic, right? But it's up to you. With the automatic cameras, it's really hard to get that because it tries to adjust for low light and all of that.
I wonder why we can't switch it off of automatic.
I think it's just I didn't have that capability until I got this phone.
Okay.
So I think it's just when you upgrade your phone or when you get a new camera app, that ability will be there, and you can just play with it. Like, get someone in front of your camera and just play the settings and see what it does.
I like everything in my life to be automatic.
Yeah, well, I mean, rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
If you
We'll
don't
see.
care, then...
We'll see
What
how
about
this
the light? What are we going to do with the light?
Okay, so I've got this almost to off.
Okay.
In this case, just because it's so close and it is a very powerful light. So,
Okay.
but that's great. And so basically what it's doing is it's separating you from the dark background. So
Okay.
people can, people are really good at facial recognition and stuff, and so they just tune right in on you.
Okay, sweet. Spotlight.
Spotlight, exactly.
You're still recording, Mason? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Microphone's plugged in, and it looks great because you can't tell that this cord, like you can't see the cord at all, which is what we want.
That's right. Can you see this in the shot? There.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's,
that's okay.
Okay.
people see that and they just subconsciously think good audio, so it works in
That's
your
right.
favor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about light. We talked a little bit about sound. Let's talk a little bit about composition.
Yeah, so I think in this case, I mean, really what people are looking for is just a straight shot talking to the camera. And you have a couple of options. I think everybody on their phone has that tic-tac-toe guides that they can turn on that kind of shows you sort of some guides where to line things up. A lot of times we will try to position a face on one of those crosses. In this case, I'm not so sure that's necessary. I mean, if you like the look of that, by all means do it. But I think just a dead set center looking straight into the lens would probably give people the look that they're going for in this, especially if they're a little closer to the camera and they have lots of room behind, more room than I have here, so that you can get that shallow depth of focus even with a cell phone camera.
Awesome. Now, for this type of podcast, let's talk about how close that subject should be to the camera.
Okay. And it's really just going to be a case of what you like, what the look is you like. But I would suggest, I mean, really just if you had it right in front of you here, I mean, I'm sure we'll throw up some images of what we did with Bernard, and that was pretty much ideal. If I had it right here, the framing would probably be something like this.
Right.
And I mean, you don't want to see any of people when they're sitting look really awkward usually. So this is a great shot.
Would you say that the further back the camera is, the less engaging it is to the audience when they're looking at a talking head?
It can give you a good effect, but for this purpose, you're not going to be moving the camera around. So, a far back shot can sometimes get people's attention because they don't normally see it, but then you're going to want to cut in. In this case, we want to avoid all the cutting. We want to keep it really simple. So I would say just keep it nice and close. Just kind of play with it. You definitely want to use the rear camera on your phone. As most phones, it's twice as good. Unfortunately, people are going to want to see themselves, and that just leads to problems because you look at the screen instead of the lens. And yeah.
Awesome.
That's
Okay.
actually another point we should touch on, which is when you're delivering your content, make sure to look right into that little lens on your phone.
Right. Don't look at the center of the phone. Look at where the lens is, which is usually the top of the phone, which is going to be on its side.
Yeah.
And that bears a really important point because so many people flip their phone vertically as though they're doing a selfie image for Facebook, but for video, you're far better. And you need to flip it sideways
Yeah.
and film it as a landscape shot.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but the image will automatically orient to depending on which way you've got it. And if you're shooting it up and down, it may look like on your phone, on your screen, that you're getting more of an image, but you have to remember that the end result is going to be turned the other way, and it's going to be this strip down the center, and you're going to have all this black on the sides, and it's going to be really tiny and look terrible.
Awesome.
What have we set up here?
We've got him kind of more in the center.
Yep.
Rather than off to one side or the other side.
Yep.
But
Which is what you want
I think it
if
looks
you're
good,
addressing the lens.
So make sure that when you're talking, you're actually going to speak directly into that lens.
Okay.
Right? So this is your audience right there.
Okay.
Okay. And rather than looking at the page and then continuing on,
Just cut the shot and go to the
deliver. We're going to just keep recording.
Okay.
And then you're going to go through the recording and cut out all the spots, but deliver everything you can of that point, and then pause, and then look down,
Okay.
and then that way you don't look down immediately after you've finished what
that's
you're
easy
going to
to
say,
Splice it off.
because you never want to show you looking down. So continue to look at the lens.
Okay.
And then when you finish that point and you can't remember what else to say, keep looking at the lens for like a 2 or 3 count. And then you can look down, then look back up, and start with a 1 or 2 count. Continue to look at the lens before you start off again. So that we're not catching the looking up or looking down once you've done your edit.
That's right.
Okay?
Especially while we're here, your first response is going to be to look at us. Like as soon as you're done, you're going to look for approval. And that's
right.
just human nature. That's just the way it works. But try to fight that and just
Okay.
keep looking in there. Give it a beat. Then we'll let you know what we thought, if that was going to work or not.
Okay.
My hope for this whole thing is that you're going to get back and make a whole bunch of errors. And you're going to see why those are errors. And then
Okay.
we'll be able to fix them in editing. And then on the next one, you'll see, oh, that took a lot of time to edit out.
So now I gotta be.
So now I understand what it is I have to do next time to avoid that.
And the
That's
more
right.
that you do this, the better that you're going to get. With Bernard, one of the things that we talked to him about that is very, very important is you're not just talking to your audience. If you do this right, you got the potential of leveraging other people's spheres of influence. In Bernard's case, one of the strategies is to film this at a different restaurant each episode and eventually build up the opportunity of having restaurants clamoring at wanting him to come and film his show with them
Yeah.
and share with their audience that likes them on Facebook and leverage their Facebook audience, leverage their social media audience.
And it kind of brings it to another point, which is that we're moving into this age of influential advertising. You know, you probably see this on Instagram all the time where there's models and actors and they get paid thousands of dollars to hold a product in an Instagram photo. And seriously, people are making 6 figures off of that. And it's same idea here. If Bernard positions himself to provide enough value, like if he's bringing people to restaurants just because he went there and did an episode of it, you know, all of a sudden there's value going around everywhere.
Absolutely.
And he's going to be in demand.
But if he doesn't talk about how great the food was, maybe show a shot of it and do a shout out to the restaurant,
Yep.
he completely misses that opportunity.
Yeah, he's really going to need to kind of dial down. And this is the whole point of the first few episodes, is really figuring out what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I mean, the first season of anything is usually not so great.
Awesome. But it's little things like this, the attention to these little details that really build up the value of the personal brand that he's trying to develop.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Make sure you do the shout out to the restaurant,
That's right.
right? Because you're trying to build that reason to let a restaurant not only let you do it, but you want to create a demand of restaurants that want you to come and film the Money Minutes at their restaurant.
That's right.
Right? And the only way you're going to build that demand is by showing value to the restaurants. So make sure that you do a shout out to Dino, the great meal that you had here at Commodore.
That's right.
Can't wait to see where we're going to eat next time or something like that.
Should I do that I should do that right in the
I
beginning.
would do that right in the beginning. Hey, I'm having lunch here down at the Commodore. Dino prepared a phenomenal spread. Man, it was delicious. I'm almost too tired to do the show.
That's right.
The tryptophan is, or whatever. But here we go. First Money Minutes.
Okay.
Right, something like that.
How about I'll film the shout out right now then.
Sure, if you want. Yep. Remember, looking in the lens.
Yeah.
1, 2 count, then start. And then afterwards, continue to look in the lens, 1, 2 count, end.
So I'll pause after the shout out, and then should I reiterate what I just did there, or redo that, or
No.
just move on to my next point?
Yeah, because in editing, you can shift things around.
Okay, sweet.
Okay?
Okay, so hey everybody, this is Bernard Immel coming at you with the first Money Minutes. Let me start that again.
Yeah, because you
Hit
touched the table. Yeah.
The table. Okay, so hey everybody, this is Bernard Immel, and we're coming at you with Bernard Immel's Money Minutes. So I just want to give a big shout out to my boys Dino and Chris. We're here at the Commodore. We had a delicious lunch. I had the Commodore burger and some mixed green salad, delicious. And I'm actually ready for my afternoon nap, but I'm going to stick with you for just a minute here, and we're going to talk about a finance tip. So,
Yeah, that's good.
and then we'll roll into
Yeah, then you're going to go right into your piece. That's good.
Okay.
So we'll just take that, we'll shift it back. Now you're going to
Okay.
carry on with part 2. I think one of the important things that we can also talk about just here really quickly is the fact that we haven't really said it yet. If you're wanting to produce a podcast, what you're wanting to do really, when it boils down to it, is position yourself as the expert in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may think that there are other experts out there in that particular topic matter that you want to focus on who are bigger experts than you. And that may be true. But the bottom line is the people that will look to you for that advice, you are their expert. It doesn't matter about those other people. They're your audience. They want to hear what you have to say. You don't want to focus on the people that are not your audience.
Right.
You want to focus on the people that are your audience.
Yeah.
And you are their expert, and you'll become even more so and grow an even bigger audience.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts?
I think it's important to remember that expert just means you know more than the average person. It doesn't mean that you know the most. It doesn't mean anything other than you know more than the average person about a particular thing. And your audience is not there for your content. They're there for your content and for you.
That's right, because they're trusting you. They have a relationship with you on some level.
Yeah.
Right? You're connecting with them.
And they want a better relationship. That's why they're watching it. They're watching it because we have this need to get to know people better and create context with people. And if they ever have a problem with whatever you do, they want a guy.
Yeah. Well, and I love the word that you just used, context, right? We live in an information-rich age, but along with that richness is noise. And there's so much information out there that it can get really, really noisy. And you go, well, who do I trust? Who do I know? Who do I feel comfortable listening to? And there's going to be a particular audience that's going to want to listen to you because they connect with you. What you say and how you say it makes sense to them and resonates with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I got nothing else to say to that. That's that's exactly it. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, one of the things that we coached Bernard on was to hit record and don't stop. Make sure there's enough room on your phone, on your camera, because you don't want to go partway through and go, oh man, I'm out of space.
Yeah.
Make sure there's enough room. Then hit record and do your entire session, because you can cut out all the garbage in the editing suite in YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just makes your uploading that much easier, right? We're trying to keep this simple. So instead of uploading 16 files, you're just uploading 1 or 2.
Right.
All right, everybody, I'm Bernard Immel, and I'm bringing you the Money Minutes. So today we're going to talk about the BC Home Partnership Program, because saving that 5% down payment is actually the hardest part of buying your first house. So we're going to talk about 3 things today: how it works, your eligibility, and how to apply. So the first thing is how it works. Traditionally, buyers have to save up 5% of the down payment of whatever the purchase price is. The BC government has been so gracious to step up, and they're going to match your down payment up to 5% of the purchase price. So now, essentially, you only have to save 2.5%. The government will come in, match your 2.5%, and there's your 5% minimum. if you've been a good boy or girl and you saved your full 5% down payment, the government's still going to come up and match that 5% up to a maximum of $37,500. That's 5% on a $750,000 home. So they're going to match that, your 5% plus theirs. You'll essentially get a 10% down payment, which we'll talk about in later money minutes of how that helps you reduce your CMHC premium. Q on March 17th when those are slightly rising. So,
Okay, so there's your pause.
yeah,
Now, a couple of quick things I've noticed that you're doing. Like me, you're a hand talker,
that's right.
and you're touching the table,
Yeah.
and the camera and the light are shaking.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
You're getting a wobble.
don't touch the table.
okay.
Okay.
Should I do
Does
that? Should I do that first spin again?
No, it works.
Okay.
It works, but just remember that for future purpose. Don't touch the table because you don't want to create that shake or that wobble.
That's right. Okay.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, your delivery on part one was phenomenal.
Solid.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah,
Thank
nice
you.
work. Much better than I was expecting.
Okay.
That's good.
Thanks. We're gonna run this.
It's good.
We
Good
run
energy.
it. We
Really
run
good
it.
energy, and it flowed smooth, and you
felt
had natural confidence.
That's
It was
right.
great.
Okay, sweet. And the last point that you're going to have is that pre-approval certificate from me, your favorite mortgage broker, to upload into the BC Home Partnership website. So now I'll just do my sign off.
Now you sign off, and have you got that catchphrase that you're going to use every time moving forward?
I don't know, Bernard making money easy.
Or you could leave it completely open. Like I think the one that you and I talked about was, remember, there's two types of people in this world: those that are hungry and those that aren't. Spend 20 minutes from Bernard Immel.
Those are hungry and those are-
Which is kind of funny.
That is pretty good, actually, because we ain't hungry no more.
That's right.
We ain't hungry no more. Okay. All right, and that's it for Bernard's Money Minute. And I just want you to know there's two types of people in this world: those who are hungry and those who are not. So have an awesome day, everybody.
Your thoughts? How did that feel to you, putting that together?
Good, yeah.
Yeah, you flowed. Your confidence level, your delivery was really good. There's going to be some cuts in there on the individual points, but that works really well. Those cuts and that cut style works really, really well with individual podcasting. You did the whole thing with a light and your cell phone, right? A couple of small little mini tripods,
That's right.
and you're golden. It's awesome. Well, and a microphone.
That microphone, that's right.
It's partly about the right tools and mostly about how you use them.
Yep. So now we're going to go back. You've got time this afternoon for us to go back. We're going to download it into your channel, do the edit,
Let's do it.
and we'll get it done.
Let's update social media.
Now, Jordan, you shot 2 professional bumpers for Bernard, an intro and an extra.
Yep.
We shot it professionally in studio. We put it all together. You did all the editing on it. Let's tell the audience about the bumpers, and then we'll just show them.
Okay, so I mean, really, all they're doing is they're setting up what people can expect in the show. Well, the intro is. Well, actually, it's doing a couple things. It's setting up what people can expect in the show. It's also setting up the caliber of the show. So when people see a professional intro, nice music, or maybe no music, I don't know, but whatever your style is, if it's good, if it looks like you know what you're doing, then they're probably going to stick around for more. If it looks like, you know, your 5-year-old cousin put it together, you know, you might have a hard time retaining people past that 15-second intro.
Right. Well, I know that we break down creating really good video content, especially if it's related to sales in any way, shape, or form, usually has 8 steps. And the first step is grabbing people's attention. But it doesn't matter what the video is.
Yeah.
You got to grab people's attention.
Yeah.
And I think your intro bumper does that. Let's take a look. Okay, now let's talk about the exit bumper.
Okay. So, I mean, again, we're probably producing a show because we own a business or a cause of some kind that we want to draw people to. And when you've spent the last however long your show is providing value to people, there's nothing wrong with asking them for whatever it is that you're asking them for.
So we call that a call to action.
Yeah. Yeah, or the ask or
I do that all the time.
or whatever you want to call it, there's nothing wrong with it there. And so the extra is where we can provide people the contact information, the call to action, possibly even more content with a little bit of humor or a message of some kind that says, hey, I'm glad I hope you like the show. If you did, and you need my services, here you go. Or maybe it's just stay tuned next episode for blah.
Right. So in Bernard's case, his extra asked people to subscribe to his channel on YouTube, to like him on Facebook, and to possibly give him a call or check out his website. And then we added that little bit of humor, and he did the doogie dance at the end, and that makes a lot of people smile. And so it was good. Let's take a look at Bernard's extra. Okay. Is there anything else that we need to cover with regards to this podcast show other than wrapping it up?
I just think it's important to remember that this is bare bones. This is simple video. And in the context of this style of video, it's perfectly fine to do it yourself because really, who's going to be able to pay for a professional to do every single episode for you? So I think in this case, people are used to sort of that live kind of look.
Yep.
And I think it's okay. Obviously, for other types of videos, you want the whole thing to be the same caliber as the intro extra.
Right.
But in the case of continuing episodes and things, you've got to make it sustainable.
Right. I know that we're doing one right now, or we've just finished doing one set of bumpers also for Parker Bennett, a realtor here in town. And he was tossing back and forth between the style of show that Bernard is doing, where it's just him right there. But as soon as we get into multiple people, camera angle changes, that kind of thing, which Parker was talking about wanting to do as well, it changes the game. It makes it more complicated. So in Parker's case, and what I would recommend that most of the audience takes a look at, is finding an affordable solution like Mastermind Studios has here, where you can actually come to our professional podcasting multi-camera booth here and have us help you produce a multi-camera interview show for those ones where you want to do interviews, and then continue on with the rest of your content on a regular basis for the single shot, and just mix it up back and forth. Sometimes it's interviews where you're paying for some professional help, and then other times you're just doing singles on your camera.
Yeah. The challenge with multiple people will come in when you have multiple microphones. Now all of a sudden your cell phone won't do anymore, so you have to get a camera that has multiple microphone inputs, and then you need multiple microphones, and then you might even need multiple cameras. Who knows, right? Depends on your show. So in this case, we've got it all here. So we can put in shameless plug in quotes down at the bottom.
Awesome. So I'm going to let you close off the show today, because I'm always closing them off. And that's your camera.
Yeah. I think to end with, the most important thing is just that people do it. Just shoot something, try it, see what works, see what doesn't work. That's probably more important. But just do it. This has been the Video Marketing Podcast.
Okay, don't forget to give us your comments below this video in the comment section down there. If this is your first time watching the Video Marketing Podcast from Mastermind Studios, don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like us on Facebook. Every week or two, we're going to be putting out great content just like this video. And lastly, if you're interested in having your own video podcast, Don't forget that the Video Podcast Center here at Mastermind Studios has been set up to help you with exactly that, with the great support and help from the folks here at Mastermind Studios. Thank you.